What's up, Monster Truck fans? Thomas Borders here for another segment of Monkey Wrench. Hey, on tonight's episode, we're going to talk shocks. Man, nitrogen shocks on the monster truck. How do they work? What are they? We're going to show you all tonight. All right, fans, we're going to talk nitrogen shocks here tonight. On the monster trucks, we run a nitrogen charged shock. Now, there's really about 3 different styles of shocks on monster trucks. Well, I guess you call it 4. You got a bottom accumulator shock, which is what we have laying here on table. There's a top accumulator, which the accumulator is mounted up here at the top side of the shock. We'll go in detail about that. There's a bypass shock, is what we have here on the Monkey Business truck. This is a bypass shock. It's got some tubes here. Inside here, there's a spring and a piston that actually opens and closes. We can adjust it on the fly down here with these bolts. And that will open, and we can actually change the valving inside the shock just by adjusting these bolts. This right here is for your compression. That right there is going to be for your rebound there in the back. And then there's another one, which is a coilover style shock, which we don't have any of those here in the shop, but some of the guys like to run those. You can see them on Max D, and Tim Jones, I think, runs some of those, and some of the other guys out there. I think even some of Jerry Beck's trucks runs the coilover shock. And that really kind of helps you because you can set the spring rate to hold the truck and to do what you want to do, and then you just control the compression and rebound by the shock. So that's kind of your different shocks there in the monster truck world. But what's a monster truck shock? What's a nitrogen shock? How do they work? So like I said, right here we have a bottom accumulator shock. So as you can see inside here, it's just a hollow cylinder opened up through here. So inside here is hydraulic fluid. Every driver has their own preference on what weight hydraulic fluid, if they want to use transmission fluid, what they want to use. Everybody has their own preference. We use hydraulic fluid, and this shock is filled with hydraulic fluid inside here. But there's one thing about hydraulic fluid. Hydraulic fluid does not compress. You have to have something to take the compression. That's where the nitrogen comes in. So inside the accumulator right here, there's this puck inside there. This puck has seals on each side, inside here. So the fluid is on this side, and on this side we fill with nitrogen gas. Different pressures, like I said, different drivers have different preferences, and it's really going to depend on how you want the truck and how the truck is set up on how much pressure you run. We run anywhere from 250 to 375 PSI in our shocks. So inside here is nitrogen. The nitrogen gas actually compresses, and that's what gives the spring in the truck. That's what holds the ride height, that's what compresses, controls everything, is that nitrogen gas. And it just moves the hydraulic fluid throughout the system. So you have your shaft. 26-inch travel shocks is what we run here on the Monkey Business truck. We have 26-inch travel on this one. We have 30-inch on the Clumsy Monkey. There's some guys out there running 20-inch shocks. So a little bit, all different realms of shocks out there. But what does all the work? So on the end of this shaft, screwed on here, is our piston. This piston has different orifices drilled in it. All right, so on the end of the piston, as you've seen the orifices right there, what's inside there and what controls it are these shims right here. We have these metal shims, different thicknesses, anywhere from 10 thousandths to 30, 35 thousandths, and different diameter of shims. That's what controls the compression and rebound inside these trucks. That controls the fluid passing through these orifices inside the piston and makes the shock work. So by changing out these shims inside the shock, by adding more shims, less shims, that's going to change how the truck reacts, how it compresses, how it rebounds. Then inside the shock, on the end of it, you have the cap down here. This is what holds the fluid and the shaft moves in and out. As you can see, there's a bushing inside here that rides on the shaft. You have 2 seals inside there. You have a seal for your fluid. This is holding here. This is what keeps all the fluid inside the shock. Then you have a seal here on the end. That's what keeps the debris out of the shock. That's called a wiper seal. That's going to keep all the debris and dirt out of the shock. Then what fills the shock? You know, you heard me talk about nitrogen gas inside the shock. How do we get it in the shock? So on the end of the cap here, there's a Schrader valve, which looks just like this little tool right here. Looks kind of like a valve stem for a car. If you look at it, it looks just like a valve stem. So what we do is we hook a fitting onto here with a coming off to a line going to a nitrogen tank. By opening this, so you screw this out, this opens up allows us to put the nitrogen in. Once you get your pressure set, you tighten it back down, close it off, and that holds the gas inside the shock. And then down on the end of the shock, you got your bump stop. This one here comes from Patrick Enterprises. You know, we love using their parts. Their parts are great. They've been proven over the years, so we like using them. But got a rubber bump stop down here on the end of the shaft. And I mean, there's some other bumps out there. There's some that look like they use a coil spring inside their bump stops. All different styles out there. Like I said, everybody's got their preferences. This here would be a top cap. There's 2 different sizes. You got a short cap and a tall cap. All just more preference, build of the trucks, how they're built. You know, pretty simple setup now that you got it out here on the table. You know, nitrogen shocks, not a lot to them. They sound overly complicated, but they're really a very simple design inside here. Basically just a hydraulic cylinder with a little bit of nitrogen on the end to help control everything. That's how they work. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video here tonight. If you want me to go into any more detail on these shocks or anything, hit us up down there in the comments, let us know. Make sure you like, comment, share. Check us out on Facebook, Monkey Business Motorsports. We'll see you all next time.